South Sudan leaders must seize the bull by the horns and fully implement a peace deal or potentially face international sanctions and a U.S. arms embargo. A stern warning from U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry during his visit to the Kenyan capital, Nairobi. Kerry announced that East African foreign ministers have agreed to move ahead with the deployment of a regional peacekeeping force for the troubled nation.
Today I am also announcing nearly $138 million in new aid from the United States to the people of South Sudan, and we are already the largest donor in the world to the effort to help sustain the people of South Sudan on a humanitarian basis with $1.6 billion that we have contributed.
Kerry touched down on Nigeria's soil today in the country's restive north. He congratulated Nigeria on its recent military successes against Boko Haram while warning against the use of excessive force to fight extremists. He praised Nigeria for reclaiming swaths of territory from Boko Haram and releasing thousands of hostages over the past year.
As everyone in this room well knows, in its quest to destroy knowledge, the terrorist group Boko Haram has killed more than 20,000 people, displaced more than 2 million, and flung some 7 million Nigerians into hunger, thirst, and desperate need. On Sunday, they descended into a small village near Chibok in the middle of the night, looting every home that they saw, and then they took food and livestock before burning those huts to the ground. They killed 10 people that night and abducted 13 others, women and children, adding to the thousands of other victims, including the hundreds of Chibok girls who were abducted more than 2 years ago. It takes work, and it takes leadership, and it will require sustained effort from all of us, from regional, national, and subnational leaders, from the United Nations and other multinational institutions. It'll take great efforts by law enforcement and civil society. And I want you to know today that the United States is deeply committed to this effort, including by helping our partners to be able to build counterterrorism capacity. That is why at the State Department we introduced a countering violent extremism strategy early this year, and it is why we are working so hard to implement it. Though I might add, you all are already, under the leadership of the Governor and the Sultan, are already engaged in your own countering violent extremism efforts. There's no question in recent months that important progress has been made, and particularly here in Nigeria. Over the last 6 months, the Nigerian army has rescued thousands of civilian hostages. Hundreds of Boko Haram fighters surrendered to Nigerian forces. In July, Nigerian troops captured 16 of the group's leaders, who admitted that they were running out of food, that their fighters were living off roots and unripe fruit. And just last week, your army thwarted an attack in the northeast and took out more than a dozen militants in the process. The fact is that through the multinational joint task force with help from the United States, France, and the United Kingdom, Nigeria and its neighbors are steadily degrading Boko Haram's capabilities. Your country has taken back most of the territory that the terrorists had once captured. And Cameroon, Niger, and Chad, and Benin have made important contributions and enormous sacrifices in areas along Nigeria's borders.
Earlier in August, the U.S. government pledged $37 million in aid for victims of Boko Haram, as fears of a famine mounted on the ravished Lake Chad region. Bureau Report, ANN7.